Stay tuned and let's check out these Power Rangers Lightning Collection Deluxe villains. Pow and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who, and you can hit that join button as well and become a channel member. Quite simply show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we are taking a look at the Power Rangers Lightning Collection Wave 1 of Deluxe villains, and thankfully for me these are both Mighty Morphins, so you know that is in my wheelhouse. I am just a little bit late to the party, but a special thanks to Heroes_Super_Toys on Instagram. I'll put the links on the screen and in the bio. Go and check them out. Go and check out their website heroessupertoys.co.uk as well. They still managed to have a couple of these left in stock, so I managed to snag them for review and of course to add them to the collection. So go and check out their website, show them some love and hit them up on the Instagram. Hit up their DMs as well if you're after for anything in particular. There's some good people with lots of pre-orders up on the site, so yeah, you won't regret it. Go and check them out. And again, thank you, because now I have these two to add to my shelf. Two iconic characters from the early seasons of Power Rangers, and you know, as I said, they're Mighty Morphins, so I needed them, and I definitely remember these as a kid as well, and we'll get into that as we go through with these one by one, of course. And let's start off with King Sphinx. So here we have King Sphinx, and for some reason I believed he was Goldar's brother, but I believe that was just a wild rumour. I went back and watched the episodes that King Sphinx appeared in, and it doesn't seem like it's his brother, but they definitely grow big together to attack the Zords. They try and like isolate Jason, I think, as the leader, and he uses his wings to blow the other Rangers away, but still, fun character. He was used on a lot of promotional material back in the day as a kid. He even had his own like 8-inch figure, I think, that I don't think I managed to have, but there was definitely a figure of this guy. He was used in colouring books and all of that good stuff. That's probably why he's a very iconic character. You definitely remember him, even though he only appeared really in maybe 1 or 2 episodes and flashbacks and whatnot. But still, a fun looking villain to add to the shelf for sure. Again, I love this Lightning Collection packaging, I'm not going to lie. King Sphinx character on the front with the window box, so you can see the character in there now. As you can see, he's got the dark mouth here. The figure doesn't have that, and I've seen a few people complain, maybe a bit of a dark wash, but we'll get into that as we open them up. But first impressions, very good. As I said, I do really like this packaging, and there we get a digital render of the character on the back of wow. So yeah, as always, great packaging, but I want the toys inside, so let's open him up. So here we have King Sphinx out of the box, and do you know what? First impressions of this guy are pretty good. I don't really know what I was expecting from the Lightning Collection Deluxe figures, as I've seen mixed reviews online, but now I've got him in hand, people. Honestly, this is spot on. I think he's going to scale great with the Rangers. Definitely looks like the character from the show. And for me, that's one of the most important things about having these figures on the shelf is, do they accurately represent the source material? And this guy is undoubtedly King Sphinx, even if he is missing a few of the details, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the first thing I noticed, first and foremost, let me take out his spear and we'll show you that as well in a minute, is in the box, the wings are not exactly plugged into his back, so his wingspan in the box just appear to be wider than they are, but once you plug them in, they're absolutely fine. And of course, they do articulate a little bit as well. His power in the show, or one of his powers, is wafting his wings to blow away the Rangers, so you can obviously do that if you wanted to show him off, either or. But yeah, just looking at this guy, the articulation is great for the scale. As I said, I think he's going to actually look great with the Rangers and with some other bad guys. We'll see what he looks like compared to Goldar as well. But yeah, Finster made him with a mix of Egyptian sand and clay before he put him in that little monster machine. And yeah, King Sphinx is looking good. So he comes with interchangeable hands, of course, the weapon and the effects. And yeah, let's zoom in and check out all of that good stuff. So let's first address the obvious gripe that people had with this figure. So you can see the sculpt work is there. He genuinely does look great. The details and the colours they've chose for his armour and headdress look great. The detail that's missing though, however, is the blackness of the mouth. Now you can see his mouth is open, but it's all just painted in that grey or molded in that grey, where there should really be a hit of deco in there, a bit of black to sort of really make that mouth pop. Maybe a little bit more darkness around the eyes as well to sort of bring out the details, just like the artwork and the packaging and how he appears in the show, to be fair. So I think a few people are giving a go at doing a bit of a dark wash themselves on this figure to really make it pop, because they've done most of the hard work, Hasbro, to be fair. It's just that little bit of detail can make all the difference. But other than that, if you ignore that, the rest of the figure looks good. The sculpt work is there. There is a bit of shading on the actual sculpt work here. You can see a bit of lightness there and a bit of darkness under the pecs. Then you've got this Egyptian sort of text. I don't know if this is real or not, but it's sculpted into the armor, which is nice. Moving down to his sort of skirt piece, you can see it there as well. And then you get the yellow armor on the knees. And yeah, it's just looking good all the way around to the wings. And the wings are nicely sculpted as well. He's even got an articulated tail. Look at that. Articulated tail that you can use and pose however you want. As I said, as I mentioned, the wings do articulate, so you can bring them in. So you can pose him where you can sort of hardly see the wings behind his head, to be fair. Or obviously get them out for display, which is what we're all going to do, let's be honest. But yeah, this guy is great. And as I said, the articulation is just as good as well. So the arms do go up. They are hindered a little bit by the shoulder. There is a double jointed elbow that works pretty well, but the arms will only go up that much due to the shoulder. There is a crunch there. And there is a ball joint as well on the top of the waist. So you have got a bit of wiggle room. Double jointed knees, it seems. And they do work. Yep, there they go. Right up there. Even the wings don't get in the way because you can lean them forward or whatnot. And there's like an ankle pivot, a very nice ankle pivot as well as a hinge on the ankle. They go out that much as well, to be fair. So yeah, as I said, this is the type of articulation you would want with a character like this. You're going to be able to get him in some great poses. For me, you know, he's going to stand posed up nicely on the shelf. But if you're doing some ABCA or taking photos, then this guy will look great as well. But yeah, maybe a dark wash, make the details on the face pop a little bit more. But overall, I'm very happy with how this looks. I'm pleasantly surprised with how much I like this figure, to be honest. So he comes with another set of hands. So we get these two sort of clawed hands on the figure, but with a bit of movie magic. There you can see he has a second set of hands. So he's got one fisted hand and then a more gripping hand. And I assume that is to hold his other accessory, which is, of course, the spear that you see on the show. Very accurate with the big question mark at the top. Just painted two colours with the sort of gold down to the blue. And, of course, you've got to pry these fingers open to get him to hold it. But then once he holds it, he does hold it very tightly. So there you go. That's in there. And you can get him posed that up and hold it any way you want. And it's not going to fall out. That is in there nice and tight. So that's pretty good. And of course he can punch some ranges as well. But if you want to demonstrate some effects, some abilities, some powers, the last accessory is an effect piece, which we seem to be getting with most of the Lightning Collection figures that are all unique, which I very much like. And what's good about this, if I zoom in a little bit on this, you can see all the question marks actually sculpted into the sort of design. So they match the actual spear, the question mark. Let me turn that around. They match the actual question mark of the spear. So you can tell these are effects for King Sphinx. And of course, these can easily just slide over and wiggle and just stick on any way you want. I don't think there's any correct way to do this. It's just they will go on there, no problem at all. So now you can have King Sphinx all posed up, holding his effect piece. And yeah, this guy absolutely looks great. So definitely going to find a place for this guy on my shelf with his accessories and his power effects up and all of that good stuff. But yeah, King Sphinx, pleasantly surprised. So of course I'll do some comparisons at the end. But let's next open up Pumpkin Rapper. Next up we have the Pumpkin Rapper, and yes, you guessed it, here's a pumpkin that raps. Yeah, very, again, an iconic, rememberable character from the show. Not for his raps, of course, but his look. He appeared in an episode called Trick or Treat, I believe, and he's also a rare character that appeared more than once as a main protagonist to the Rangers. I think he appeared a couple of times further on, teaming up with other villains and stuff. But I like that he comes with some actual pumpkins, because in the episode, he's known for turning putties into pumpkin head putties, and he even puts these pumpkins on the Rangers' heads and traps them and whatnot. He has some vines as well, because he can rap. You get it? He raps with his vines. Anyway, Pumpkin Rapper, unique character, great choice for a figure, of course. I don't think we had a Pumpkin Rapper figure in the past like we did with King Sphinx, so still a welcome addition to the shelf, I'm sure. So yeah, let's get him open. So here we have the Pumpkin Rapper and all of his accessories out of the box. And to be fair, this guy comes with quite a little bit more than King Sphinx, probably because he is a little bit slimmer in size. Yes, he has a massive head, but he is a little bit slimmer. He doesn't have the wings and whatnot. So instead, you get all of the accessories, which I'm not mad about at all. I thought he'd be really difficult to stand because, let's be honest, he's got a massive bobble head. I thought the balance would be all over the place, but he has these long sort of clown shoes, and they sort of hold him pretty well. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be too hard to balance. Maybe when we start adding accessories on, it's going to be like Buckaroo trying to get him to balance, but still, we shall see. But first impressions, just like King Sphinx, are definitely higher than I was anticipating. Maybe this guy again would benefit from a darker wash, especially to bring out the sort of elements on the head. It's like an upside down sort of Halloween head, if you will. But yeah, he has all these vines that come off that you can use to hook up the Rangers, so that's going to be great for display in ACBA. And then he has his own blast effect, or sort of viney effect that I think you can put a pumpkin into, so you can get him holding a pumpkin maybe, we shall see. But these definitely clip onto the Rangers' heads as well, which is a nice little touch. So let's zoom in, take a closer look, and then we can go through his accessories. So here's his massive pumpkin head, simple as that. Not much articulation apart from, like, because it's attached. Yeah, it just seems to have a little bit of swivel maybe, or maybe that's just the collar piece that's swiveling. I can't really tell, but the head is definitely stuck on there. There's no articulation on the head. It's just this sort of rubbery green collar piece makes it seem like the head spins, but it's not. It's the collar piece spinning, which is fine. You get this little piece sticking off him. The body himself is just like a normal sort of slimmer figure, and as you can see, the arms will go all the way up. Let me zoom out a little bit. His head's way too big. He has the same sort of ab crunch with the ball joint like the Lightning Collection has become famous for, which I do appreciate. You heard it click there. So yeah, it will go forward and click a few times back, and then of course it will wiggle up top. So you're going to be able to get him some nice poses. Legs go out pretty far, double jointed knee, but the boot sort of hinders it all the way, but it's still pretty good. Double jointed elbows. These sort of pieces off the sort of bicep get in the way, but the articulation is there. I guess that's soft rubber, so if you wanted to bend them, you can get it up more, maybe. But again, why do you need to do that? You tell me. Down to the feet, ankle pivot. As I said, there's a big long sort of shoes with the sort of claw, so he sort of will balance. But yeah, you're going to be able to get this guy in some poses. Definitely poses that sort of represent what he did in the show anyway. It's not like he was an acrobat. He just threw vines and pumpkins at people. But yeah, it looks great. So let's go through some of these accessories. So he has 2 gripping hands first and foremost, and he does have another set of hands. So let me show off them, and then we'll swap back. So just like King Sphinx, he does come with a fisted hand to punch the Rangers, and then another sort of open, sort of grabby, clawy hand, if you will. But I'm going to want to swap back because he has all these vines to hold, and he's going to need his gripping hand. So let's do that. So here we have the pumpkin rapper actually holding on to some of these vines. Now, there is no instructions, of course, so you can just do what you want with them, but he will hold the big long vine, of course, there. I'm sure you can get him to grip it at that side as well, but that will hook around a Ranger, no problem at all. This other one's a little bit shorter, and again, I'm sure I could spin it around and get him to hold this side if I wanted to. There's no rules, do what you want, but maybe that will hook around a Ranger's wrist or a foot or something like that. But still, you can definitely get this guy with some vines, all posed up, waving them around and whatnot. But I want to see if he will hold this one as well, so let's try that. Now, I forgot to show off the back of the box, but the back packaging actually shows him holding a pumpkin up using this effect piece where it wraps around the arm. So if I move that out the way, we can try and do that. So there we have the effect piece actually wrapped around the arm, and that's like a translucent sort of green, which sort of just wraps around, no problem at all. So now let's try and put a pumpkin in there, and I'm sure it will fit, but will he balance with it in? So let's try that. Zoom back out, see if he balance holding it, and yeah, he does. So yeah, you can get him posed up like the back of the box. They're not lying to you. That pose is definitely possible with the figure, and it looks pretty good. He's controlling pumpkins. It's the pumpkin rapper. And one more look at the effect piece, of course. It's all translucent sort of green with a few different shades, but I like the way the light shines through it as well. But yeah, that looks good, and it just sort of sits around the arm, no problem at all. And of course, I can just sort of, if I give it a tug, pull it out. So there you go. There's the effect piece. That looks pretty good. His last accessory are, of course, pumpkins. It's the pumpkin rapper. What would he be without pumpkins? And if you've ever wanted to create a pumpkin patch in action figure form, then now is your chance. So you get 3 pumpkins, and they all have the little ball peg underneath it, or the hole for the ball peg. So these will actually fit onto Power Rangers and Putty's heads. So you can have them just displayed around the figure for posing and whatnot. There he is. Or you can actually put them on to a Putty's head. So let's do that right now. And there you have it, some pumpkin putties, and that is a pretty nice touch, let's be honest. It shows the people behind these figures actually know a little bit about the show as well, because this is very episode specific. It literally is from the Trick or Treat episode, and of course, if you put them to the side, you can have them flanking the pumpkin rapper himself, just like in the show. And as you can see, I think he scales very nicely compared to these putties as well. They're all just a little bit pumpkin head heavy, so the balance game is going to have to be on point for display. But as I said, you can definitely make it happen Looks good. So here we have King Sphinx and the pumpkin wrapper together. And as I said, King Sphinx is of course a little bit bulkier, a little bit bigger, but what the pumpkin wrapper makes up for is in accessories and that massive pumpkin head, of course. So I do think they both work for all intents and purposes. What's important are, do they represent the characters from the show in figure form? The answer is of course yes. Of course, a little bit of black wash or a little bit more detail here, but let's be honest, overall for the price point, these are great figures for your Power Rangers. So let's see what they look like compared to some other figures in the Lightning collection. Now let's of course kick off these comparisons with some actual Power Rangers. So here we have two of my favourite axe wielding Power Rangers. It is of course Zach the black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and then Adam the green Zeo Ranger, who both love axes it seems. But as you can see, as average scaled Power Rangers in this Lightning collection, I think they scale great with both villains. Pumpkin Wrapper and King Sphinx look great. Definitely villains should be taller than the Rangers, but not too big, of course. Not until Lord Zed throws his growth bomb and Rita throws her spear into the ground, and then they go big, and then we get the Zords out. But for now, for average sort of scale, I think this looks great, and it makes sense why they're deluxe figures. You pack them in a bigger box with more accessories, and you can have an accurate display for the shelf. So yeah, two Power Rangers there compared to two villains, looking great. And just to show you how this actually works, because in the show, poor Zach does get his head stuck in a pumpkin. So you take the helmet off, there's the pumpkin, and you literally will just plug the pumpkin onto the head, probably warm it up first, but that's as simple as that. So it doesn't go over the helmet, it literally goes onto the peg hole. But that's how you get a pumpkin Power Ranger, which actually happens in the show, which is ridiculous, I know. But I promise you, go and watch Trick or Treat episode, season 1. It happens. Next up, of course, we have the two most recognizable villains in Power Rangers lore. It is, of course, Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed. These are the people that send these villains after the Rangers in the first place and then make them big. Yeah, they look great. Honestly, it's crazy that in my 30s I'm getting these most accurate versions of these characters that I loved as a kid in figure form for my shelf in a great scale that work together. No complaints from me. This looks great. So the last comparison, I'm bringing in Goldar to find out if he is the long-lost brother of King Sphinx. Now, in the episode where King Sphinx appears, he does team up with Goldar to try and isolate the Red Ranger. So let me move Pumpkin Wrapper out of the way. I think these two scale nicely together as well, by the way. But those two ain't really seen together. These two are definitely seen on screen together. It is the early season, so Goldar doesn't have his wings yet because Lord Zed isn't around at the time to give him his wings. So pretend this is the newer version of Goldar without the wings. These two should sort of scale together. So it makes me think Goldar should be a little bit bigger, but then he wouldn't scale with Lord Zed and Rita. So I'm not mad about it, but yeah, I don't think they're long lost brothers. So yeah, scale doesn't work for these two, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean I hate the scale. I do like the scale of King Sphinx. It works perfectly. And as I said, you bring in a putty or a ranger and it works perfectly. Oh, he's got a pumpkin on his head. So final thoughts, I'm obviously very happy with these two. If you are on the fence, then I promise you won't be disappointed when you get them in hand. I'm a little bit disappointed I waited this long to get them, but again, special thanks to heroes_super_toys. Check out the website, their Instagram in the description below. Thanks to them, I didn't miss out on these after all, so very, very happy. These are going straight from the review table onto the display with the Rangers. Very happy. You let me know what you think in the comments below, and you let me know what future villains you would like to see at this scale for Mighty Morphin. As I said, you know that's my nostalgia point. I could do a whole top 10 video on villains I'd like to see in these deluxe waves. I might even do that, but you let me know in the comments below what villains would you like to see at the deluxe scale for our Mighty Morphin Rangers. Always curious to hear your thoughts and read the comments. Do that below, but most importantly, you want to support the channel, then please hit that subscribe button, and you can of course now click that join button and become a channel member. Quite simply show some love or join the members club. Thank you. You can follow me on Instagram at itsdanwho, and I will of course see you on the next one.